Many thanks for listening to Trump 100. If you're listening on the Sky News website or app, did you know you can follow Trump 100 on Apple, on Spotify, and on YouTube? Just search for Trump 100 wherever you usually listen. And if you're already there, why not follow the feed so you never miss an episode?
Hey, Martha.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm ready for Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, we're interrupting your watch party.
You are.
To bring the episode to everyone.
Someone's just pointed out I'm wearing Eagles green. I don't want to be accused of any bias.
Well, I am wearing neither Chiefs nor Eagles colours. So.
But you are very excited, I'm sure.
Huge excited. Most excited that James isn't here, because if he was here, he would be just taking the mickey out of me for not knowing anything about American football or indeed most American sports, or indeed most sports. I'm Mark Stone.
I'm Martha Kellner.
And this is day 22 of Trump 100. Grab your chips and dip. Donald Trump is heading to the Super Bowl.
Let's go.
Well, it's Sunday evening here in DC, and as we're recording, Martha, Donald Trump is in the stands at the Superdome in New Orleans watching the 59th Super Bowl. He's the first sitting president to ever attend the game itself, which is kind of remarkable, I think, given how much of a big deal the Super Bowl is here in the US.
Yeah, I find that surprising given what a shop window it is for any president. Super Bowl Sunday is one of the biggest events of the year, sport or otherwise. And in fact, according to the NFL, last year's game was watched by 123.4 million people.
Wow.
Which, if it is correct, and there is debate, which I won't bore you with about viewing figures around the world, but if it is correct, it makes it the most watched TV program ever. I don't know whether you can hear in the background, but someone's celebrating the first touchdown of the game.
Oh, very. Who was it?
I'm not sure because I can't see. But I'll let you know afterwards. But I guess the closest equivalent to a Super Bowl in Europe would be a football or a soccer Champions League final, which happens every year. But Americans would say the closest thing is a World Cup final. It's as much about sort of the cultural significance of this as it is a sports game. There are Super Bowl parties everywhere. The bars are packed. If you go out on the roads at the moment, they'll be completely deserted because people are either at home or out watching the game. Even the halftime show, the adverts, they're all part of the Super Bowl Sunday experience.
Even my wife and the three kids around at the neighbours taking it all in. In fact, even my miniature wire-haired dachshund, she's got a little jersey. Is that the correct terminology?
Yeah, everyone's involved.
Yeah, even the dog's involved. But it's truly an all-American event. And I guess that is why the man who would like to see himself as the all-American president, Donald Trump, wants to be as associated with it as he can be.
Yeah, it's another opportunity for Donald Trump to be centre of attention. And I think particularly important is the fact that the Super Bowl is watched by people of all ages, genders, political views, and crucially, people who might not normally engage in politics at all.
And how was it? I mean, just at your watch party there, what was the reaction as he walked onto the field?
Yeah, mixed, I think. I'm at a party with very sort of politically diverse group.
Yeah.
Some excited to see him there, some cheers, some boos, but it's all part of this pantomime and he is the main character. So for him, it almost doesn't matter whether people are celebrating him or denigrating him. He is still the centre of attention. He's still being talked about in a way that no other president has been.
He's certainly had a complicated relationship with the NFL. He's tried numerous times to buy NFL teams. And in the 80s, he bought a team in a rival league to the NFL. And then, true to form, he sued the NFL. More recently, in his first term as president, he called for a boycott of the NFL when players started taking the knee as part of the Black Lives Matter protests. I mean, you and I both remember that. You were here in Washington then, I think. And it was such a huge moment.
That was originally first done by Colin Kaepernick back in 2016. He was a player for the San Francisco 49ers. And it spurred on this movement, many players taking the knee as the national anthem was playing, and it infuriated Donald Trump. And he actually said it would be good if some of these NFL owners told those, in Donald Trump's word, sons of bitches to get off the field. So he has a very complicated relationship with NFL players as well, some of them.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's been an awful lot of talk over the past couple of days about the NFL's decision over the past few days to remove the "End Racism" slogans that have been stenciled onto the end zones of the field since 2021. Some certainly are saying that the decision was made in response to Trump's decision to cancel diversity, equity and inclusion programs across government. The NFL, though, says that it is just a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, there's much more going on than just the Super Bowl. On his way there, Trump didn't even wait till touching down before making the headlines. Just as I got into the office this afternoon, there was a flurry of news because on board Air Force One on his way to the game from Palm Beach in Florida, he made a slew of announcements, convenient for one in particular because he was flying over the Gulf of America, as it's now known.
For the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America. Please enjoy the flight, and we are now about to head westbound to Super Bowl 59.
Wow, he did that well.
So that was Donald Trump in the presidential office on board Air Force One, signing the executive order, officially changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. I think we can be sure that the Mexicans will still be calling it the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, not changed on my phone, interestingly. I just checked and my Google Maps still says Gulf of Mexico, but I'm sort of eagerly refreshing that every minute to see if it changes to Gulf of America.
That's big tech falling in line with Donald Trump. So that's the kind of the more theatrical announcement, but some really important announcements as well as 25% tariffs he's announced on steel and aluminium from wherever they are imported around the world. That is a massive deal. Back in his first term, he put in place 10% tariffs on aluminium, 25% tariffs on steel, but there were exemptions for the biggest importers, for Canada, for Mexico, and for the EU. That, as things stand, is not the case this time. So that'll have a really big impact on countries globally who are trying to import steel to the US.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it will put up the cost of construction within the US because they will be either buying steel from elsewhere with a massive tariff, or they'll be buying American steel, which is traditionally more expensive than that which is imported.
Yeah, President Trump also repeating his plans for the US to own Gaza, but said he could give sections of the land to other states in the Middle East to help in the rebuilding effort.
And plans to meet Russia's President Putin at the right time, he said, as he claimed that the US was making progress on talks between Russia and Ukraine. Interestingly, he was asked whether he had spoken to President Putin since he became president, or was the conversation just before he became president. He wouldn't say when they'd spoken, just that they had spoken.
Yeah, Trump never misses a moment to speak to the press, does he? And earlier in the day, Fox News aired a pre-recorded interview with Trump. He sat down with Fox host Brett Baer and talked about his support for Elon Musk.
I don't know if it's kickbacks or what's going on, but the people, look, I ran on this, and the people want me to find it. And I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific.
Bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him to do that. Then
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, he doesn't miss a beat in saying that he does trust Elon Musk. Not only does he trust him, but he wants him to do what he did with USAID, which is to effectively shut it down. Mm-hmm. He wants him to now go into the Department of Education, which I think we will see early this week, and into the Department of Defense as well, and do just the same thing. I mean, staggering changes taking place at a remarkable speed to the federal government. He is doing exactly what he said he would do, but the impact for so many workers and the knock-on into different sectors is vast. Mm-hmm. But Martha, as a consequence of that, Time magazine, I think, has seized the moment. Did you see the cover of their latest issue?
I did, and I thought if there was one way to irritate and irk Donald Trump, it is seeing a mocked-up picture of Elon Musk sat behind his desk. The sort of inference from Time magazine was that it's actually Elon Musk who's running this country and not Donald Trump. And I just thought it was so clever because I can imagine Donald Trump ripping up that magazine in front of his staff, throwing it on the fire. You know, that will have really, really angered him.
One way to irritate Donald Trump, also one way to illustrate what many people believe is going on, is that the man actually in charge of all this, making these decisions, is not Donald Trump. Elon Musk is clearly a very, very successful businessman. I mean, that is self-evident, right? But what does he know about these different government departments? nothing.
The stakes are just so much higher here as well. Yes, he's gone into, Tesla and SpaceX and Twitter and made big sweeping changes. Sure, if something goes wrong at Tesla, you're talking about it setting back the electric vehicle manufacturing business. You're talking about, it's sad, but people losing their jobs. When we're talking about federal government, the implications are just so much bigger than that, aren't they? And
Yeah.
Elon Musk doesn't have experience working in government. He doesn't understand how the mechanisms work. Yes, they're unwieldy, but we don't quite know what effect they will have, and we probably won't for, weeks, months to come. And I think everyone still feels that there's a sense of inevitability around a falling out between the president and Elon Musk at some point, a sense that they can't coexist like this for a full 4-year term. Something else from that Fox interview, Mark, Donald Trump was praising the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, Pat Mahomes. He's their star player, and his wife, Brittany Mahomes. He was saying, she's a vocal MAGA supporter. And one thing that I'll be watching closely in the game is how Brittany Mahomes interacts with Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift is the girlfriend of another Kansas City Chiefs star, Travis Kelce, and she and Brittany often sit next to each other in the box. They celebrate touchdowns together, they're hugging together. They're apparently very good friends, but they have politically staunchly different views. While Brittany Mahomes is a very vocal supporter of Donald Trump, Taylor Swift, everyone knows, is a Democrat. She came out in support of Kamala Harris. So that's interesting that Donald Trump just is so good at embracing pop culture and going for the jugular there.
Yeah, Trump is making himself inescapable. I certainly feel that. I don't know about you. I bet you do.
Yeah.
Most Americans, certainly I think, would have gone days without even seeing or thinking about President Biden. But Donald Trump is making sure that they are seeing him and thinking about him, whether that's good thoughts or bad thoughts, an awful lot. I think you're lucky if hours go by without seeing Donald Trump somewhere. Multiple news conferences a day, multiple appearances per day. I mean, hats off to him, given how old he is. I mean, it's quite remarkable how he's got the stamina of, I don't know what. It's quite impressive.
And how he operates on so little sleep. He is omnipresent at the moment.
Yeah.
Before we go, Mark, you're strapping yourself in for what I'm sure will be another busy week in Washington, D.C. What exactly can we expect, do you think?
Well, one interesting thing that is different from the Biden time is that we don't actually know a great deal. There will be lots of surprises. For example, we only just heard in the last hour that the tariffs thing, that's going to be a big story over the next day. Tuesday, we know that Jordan's King Abdullah is in Washington. Gaza will clearly be absolutely the top of the agenda there. King Abdullah has been absolutely clear repeatedly that Gazan Palestinian refugees will not be able to come to Jordan, as Donald Trump has insisted they would go. And so that conversation between Trump and Abdullah will be fascinating. Maybe something on plastic as well. He said that paper straws don't work. Bring back plastic, he has said.
People want plastic straws back. He's tapping into a culture war.
100%. He is. Even our very own James Matthews. He said, I hate paper straws. All I would say, anecdotally, is that America needs no encouragement to bring back plastic because it is absolutely, of all the countries I've lived in, Martha, maybe this is libelous, but I'm going to say it anyway. I've never known a country that uses more plastic and is less interested in recycling. It's shocking.
I can believe it. Yeah, it's a single-use disaster.
Now, Martha, you were late to this podcast because you went back to see a woman who you helped rescue from the Palisades fire at the beginning of the month, the beginning of January, right?
Yeah, this was an 84-year-old woman called Liz Lerner. And as we were driving through Pacific Palisades on the day that the fires broke out, she was standing at the end of her driveway and said, I don't have any friends, I don't have any family, can you help me? And
I remember it, yeah.
And she actually ended up in hospital having had a heart attack as she was being evacuated. We managed to get her to safety via a neighbour who very kindly took her in his car. Anyway, we've sort of stayed in touch with her, and myself and our cameraman Chris went round to her house today just to try and help get her TVs set up. She's moved into rental accommodation many miles away from her home, and she was telling me that the property that she owned in Palisades, which burnt to the ground, was worth around $2 million. Well, now she's been offered by a property developer $200,000 for that plot of land. It just made me think, there are people who are going to be making a lot of money from this disaster in LA, and just how essential it is that elderly people and vulnerable people are taken care of so that they're not victims of exploitation by property developers as that area is rebuilt.
Goodness me. All right. Well, it's great that you're keeping up with her. So I find it's one of the best parts of our jobs is when you meet these people, you dip into their lives, you hear their stories. And when you do get the chance to be able to stay in touch with them and check in on them, it's great. I love it.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, okay, that's it for today. If you've enjoyed listening to this, why not give us a follow in your podcast app or write us a review?
And remember, you can email us on trump100@sky.uk. Alan did just that. And Mark, he suggested we rename this podcast Trump 1361 because that's the 4 years of Trump's second term minus 100 days.
Oh, my God.
What do you think about that, Mark?
Well, slightly alarmingly, he's not the first person to say that. God help us.
Thanks for joining us for day 22 of Trump 100 as it is now. See you tomorrow for day 23.
Yeah, bye-bye. See you then.